debt of road infrastructure across Nigeria necessitate drastic measures to bridge the gap. In this regard, the National Petroleum Corporation, that's NNPC, has received the nod to take over 21 federal roads across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, according to the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola. The highways to be constructed at the cost of 621.2 billion naira. This is, will I say this is a novel?
Well, you know what the
coming from NNPC.
No, what we had from the Federal Executive Council meeting from yesterday was that they were riding on the crest of an executive order signed by the president, the tax I think credit scheme, whereby people in the private sector, instead of paying those taxes to government, will now identify roads and critical infrastructure that they, roads particularly, that they can fix. For one, we see that the NNPC is going to be the person executing this project. They've looked at roads in all the 6 geopolitical zones, in the southeast, in the southwest, in the south-south, in the northwest, north-central, and also in the northeast. My personal take is that this executive order was signed in 2019. That's about 2 years ago. Okay, we don't know why, in spite of the existence of this sort of executive order, specifically for roads, we still find that some weeks, it was the last week or so, Nupeng said that the state of roads in Nigeria was so bad that they were going to go on strike. I think that part of why the strike was here was because this announcement was on the pipeline. Yes, was going to come. So on the strength of that negotiation, Nupeng didn't go on strike anymore. They now had to reach what I call a political solution. I still had the minister saying, was it yesterday, Minister Fashola, that it is the truck drivers, that is referring to Nupeng, that will overload their trucks and spoil the road, and then turn around and come and make this sort of demand and twist the government. What I want to see is that now that we have what looks like a solution to the problem, because even some of the roads, the one in, I think in Cross River and some other places, Minister was saying that in spite of humongous billions remaining to complete those roads, what was being allocated to them in the federal budget was just about 100 million, 200 million, which means that those are roads that are going to remain for maybe, if that is given the trend of funding, it means that even after Buhari's tenure, those roads will still remain undone for many years to come. Now we have some kind of hope that with this intervention, that the roads will be completed. I think about 21 roads or so.
Yes,
21 roads. The fact is I would personally think that some of those roads that are very old and they've been awarding contracts on them over and over and over, I think that there should be some sort of joint project monitoring. Both get maybe 1 or 2 CSOs, get Nupeng, get government people from Ministry of Works and the NNPC too. If it is once every 2 months or once every quarter or something like that, there should be monitoring to ensure and tracking to ensure that monies are released and that the roads are being executed as they should be. This idea of, because I've seen quite all right, there was an agitation. If the order was signed since 2019, it is now taking this sort of agitation for us to see it bear this level of fruit. It is not so good. So for it to work, let us have some sort of joint monitoring whereby critical stakeholders can monitor and say that, okay, for a fact we're seeing that this thing is happening. Otherwise, it may not be the first time we're having this sort of good intervention and yet nothing comes out of it at the end of the day.
Do you see it going this way?
Well, on the face of it, good news, because I know Nigerians, all that we want is delivery, have good roads, because with what we saw with the Dangote experiment, you got my point? Not just that one, the one from Abuja to, so you see some of the ones that Dangote has done, and good. So, and from the one we've seen in Lagos, so instead of not criticizing, if an experiment is working, we should just allow it to continue, because Nigerians may not bother about the intricate aspects of some of these things. They only want to see all this big grammar, hey, you are doing for your takabi, corruption, all those things. Nigerians want to see the results.
Multiple roads.
So if this approach is delivering good roads to Nigerians, Later, we can discuss whether you are following due process, whether you are breaching whatever.
Would that be an avenue for these people to evade tax?
No. You see, at the end of the day, because of the state of affairs in Nigeria, I will support this. And truly, I have my fears, and I cannot lie to you. Because in Nigeria, everything is easy to abuse. It's easy to abuse. So, when you have the big minister for roads, power and all that, now his job, you could see from the utterances of Mr. Fashola that the frustration because of finances, especially through the National Assembly and others, is in a hurry to achieve a lot. So, if this means success at the end of the day, I'm happy. But the media especially, we need to just, increase its, job to continue to beam searchlight into all of this. Because issues of accountability and transparency, when you give this kind of things, you value it and you told us the amount. Okay, it's still okay. But what about the due process? Has that been done? We don't know. We don't have information, and we are not saying it has not been done. You get my point? Now, do you know how the thing will be financed? Because you don't need the National Assembly. What it will be financed? It will be financed through the taxes advances from these organizations. Yes. So when it is done to you, they approved another one in July, if I remember, also to Dangote. The one to
another one, Ogun State. To Mike.
The one they advanced to Dangote in Papaland to Sagamu, and then this Badagry to. So all those ones, because of what we have seen in the past, it will be difficult for me to say no, because we just have to get good roads. If this is delivering, let it be.
So do you agree with him that in our quest we just want infrastructure in place, we just want good roads, and so that we reduce the travel time and everything, that the issue of due process will be sorted later?
No, the reality is that, how many people can see that now, remember all the contracts that have been awarded by the Federal Executive Council on roads alone in Nigeria, for example. You will calculate and you get tired of it.
Even under this government alone.
You cannot. You cannot. So, the reality is that without good roads, we've said this thing over and over, without good roads, price of foodstuff will continue to skyrocket. Because between when the farmers harvest their crops, let us say even in Benue State, which is relatively closer to us than Katsina and Kano and so on, between when they harvest their crops and they want to bring it down south to come and sell, if you went to those states where they were producing these things, the cost of them is very low. The cost, these are cheap to buy there. But in the same, before they bring those things down south, bad roads and so on, they won't be, the cost now begins to go up. The other thing is this. We talked about ports and people who move things from here, Lagos, here to other parts of the country. Because of bad roads, price of things are always on the increase. We had, was it Benue or Kogi, where the president of the Chamber of Commerce was saying that, look, the dry ports that they are now starting in the state will help them, because getting goods that they want to, that should be used in export and import between Lagos and the state. Sometimes to get something from the state to even to the rough and upper takes almost a month, which really shouldn't be. But so for as long as roads will be fixed, Nigerians will be happy to see it. We must make sure that the roads gets fixed, and that these monies that are being channeled for the purpose of fixing the roads, proper accountability and transparency, like you mentioned, I believe you mentioned those two, are also followed. No, the reality is that, all the principles involved you know, when you talk about something being done, if something is, if something is deemed good, it should be good both on paper and in implementation. There should be no gap. Because the reason why we are coming to this solution is because Nigerians have been shortchanged in the past. So if we try to find a good solution and yet people are still going to run the system through it, then I don't see whether we have achieved something good.
Then one thing that if we achieve, which I must clear, you see, in Nigeria we have a culture now that we call it budget variation. This is government will come, you know, and approve, award a contract. You won't finish it. I will come over from 2 billion, may end up with 20 billion. I will still finish it. Then it will become your turn. And you know, and because of the volatility of the exchange rate, and they are sensing. So you get my point. This one, there won't be then antagonism through the National Assembly by. You understand my point? But so those things will not happen because yes, it will not happen. But there is one fundamental thing that we must discuss. If it is about petroleum, you know, tankers and all this, it makes no sense. This is a government that is, you know, thumping its chest that it is building, you know, rail all over the country, doing massive job in, you know, giving us the kind of, you know, rail system that we didn't know. So why should we should be de-emphasizing this heavy trucks from our roads, and you get my point. So that's one aspect that makes the whole thing look curious.
Okay, let me take my first caller. Dr. Yusuf is calling us from Ilorin. Thank you for staying with us.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, my contribution. You see, the idea of awarding road project to NNPC is a scam and a political gimmick ahead of the 2023 election. Because if you look at it critically, the NNPC that cannot maintain a single refinery out of about 4 or 5 refineries we have, and you are now saying this divest and diversify to road projects. Are they trained to do road construction? Their primary objective is to refine our oil and to sell our crude oil. We fail in the two responsibilities. So why this thing just a diversionary attempt and to woo the literate citizens ahead of the 2023 election? So may God save. Another thing I want to add is that...
Thank you for your contribution. You made your point. Nigerians are reacting. I know.
You see, it's not. It is not because
I need to generate reaction.
It is not because we are not aware of issues like, you know, this man. I mean, the last caller raised. You get my point. We just wanted to say, okay, this is our country. If we have tried many other approaches and we haven't seen result, maybe we should give what they call benefit, you know, of doubt and all that. In this whole game, it is open to a lot of abuses, and we must admit that. But because it same thing can deliver results, that's why we are not just being entirely critical.
Okay, Thierry, I wanted to ask you what is wrong with this private sector participation, and that...
But NNPC is not private sector.
No. I'm just saying that if I know I can apply Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, just that's the example. Growing up as a young man, that Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, by 1 hour, 120 kilometers, 100 kilometers, you get to Ibadan. But that time we had toll gates. We had toll gates in Ogere. We had another toll gate in
in Lagos,
7 up here. But we'll pay through, and
then when
those roads, the more trouble roads. So what is wrong with this private sector? Because it's obvious that there's funding gap. We don't have the funding to cater for all these kilometers of roads. And if you see some federal government road that's run across 2-3 states in Nigeria, the states, you'll be marveled.
Yes, so because the time you were talking about many years ago when you had those tolls on those roads. There was a time when government thought in a particular way. Over time, the thinking in government changed. And oftentimes...
I think accountability is one of the problems they have.
Yes. Oftentimes, the issue of corruption is at play, and you have extra governmental influences being behind decisions of government. If a particular policy is working, why suddenly come in and change it? If the tolls were working, why did we change them? It's like when in those days, if you needed to go to secondary school, you must just be a boarder. You must be in boarding school. It was one time that somebody came and said, from now on, if you want to be in boarding house, be in boarding house. If you want to be in dormitory, and if you want to come to school, go to school from home, go to home. Nobody questioned why that policy was brought on board. So these are the issues. The reality is that the more you look, the less you would see. But corruption is a major problem. These sort of policy initiatives won't be thrown open for public debate. You just hear that they've taken a decision. That's why if you look at Mr. Yusuf's position and mine, it's as if we're even interwoven. We want to see results. That is the primary thing. We simply want to see the results. But I'm still saying that, you see, suspicions of this kind will only be addressed when we can look through the books ourselves and be sure that every naira and kobo that was voted can be counted. That is the bottom line of the matter.
I have Abdullahi from Abuja.
Yes. My name is Abdullahi Bajar, radio calling you from Abuja.
All right, go ahead.
I want to contribute about the contract given to NNPC. We in Nigeria, we are disrespect ourselves in the eyes of the world. Ask me why. Who are people that controlling the road in Nigeria, like Bega? Is it a Nigeria company? That we will carry the contract, give to Bega, work for us with a quality work. Now we give the contract to our people, to very good limited company in our nation. Giving the contract, we are still complaining.
Thank you, Abdullahi. Thank you, Abdullahi. Yes, Abdullahi is saying that, what do you really want? Now, what's the difference? Okay, this one and the Sukuk funded projects, non-interest.
That one is different. You take something like a loan without interest to use for a project and pay back without one dime, added. Just like it is done in Islamic banking. Now, that's different. This one, NNPC, especially at the time, the same government is trying to privatize, setting up boards of various organizations that will come out of NNPC. So do you think it still looks very, very cloudy to me?
The timing.
The NNPC does not have a works department.
No, I'm just coming. And if you don't want to appreciate the truth, this is an NNPC, because if you say Dangote has done this, Dangote has done that, we can see it. NNPC has been a totally failed, government agency. Not under this government, under all the governments in the history of administrations in Nigeria. Especially now, under this government, it has failed and is always failing. And if you see the quantum of debts, this the same NNPC incurs on behalf of every Nigerian all the time. Okay, somebody said out of NNPC, out of 4 refineries, this administration is about 6 years in power now. NNPC has not been able to fix one single refinery, but we fix 21 roads, totaling over 600 billion. So to me, we need, if you are what to Dangote, Adenuga and Co, Maybe because of the experience we've seen under Dangote. But under this one, the whole thing appears cloudy and it is totally fresh. I mean, open to abuse.